Okay, the first thing we're going to do is mix up our dry ingredients and get them sifted in together, and I just do it with a whisk. I am using white lily. It's a white winter wheat flour, and that's what's best to do cakes with. If you don't have white lily where you live, then go ahead and buy you some cake flour to make your cakes with. And I believe King Arthur may also have a white winter wheat. But we're going to start with 2.5 cups of flour in a bowl. So we're going to go ahead and add this to our bowl. That's 2.5 cups. There's 1, 2, and 1/2. 2.5 cups. All right. This is an all-purpose flour. Now we're going to add 3 tablespoons of cocoa. Everybody loves red velvet, but it does have just a touch of cocoa in it. What makes red velvet a red velvet cake is really the vinegar that you put in there. You can use buttermilk as well. Today I'm actually going to do it a little bit different, and I'm going to use canned milk with some water, and I have that as an option in the recipe. This recipe is in our Volume 1 cookbook. All right, so now we're going to do baking soda, and I believe it's a 1/2 teaspoon. And then you've got salt is a 1/2 teaspoon. And then the last but not least is our baking powder, and it's 3 teaspoons. 3 teaspoons of baking powder. 1, 2, 3. All right. Now I'm just going to take my little whisk and whisk this together. And this is our dry ingredients. If you're using flour that's been in the refrigerator, it's good to sift it, because lots of times when you put flour in the refrigerator, it does become lumpy. And you don't want to use lumpy flour in your cake. This is going to be delicious, y'all. I've got most everything laid out right here. We're going to put our dry ingredients to the side. First thing we're going to do is mix our butter and sugar together until it's nice and fluffy. This is 1.5 sticks of butter, which is 3/4 of a cup. It's a little bit melted, but that's all right. Now sugar is 2 cups of granulated sugar. There's 1. And 2. We're going to turn this on. We're going to add 3 eggs, and we're going to add them one at a time. One. 2. 3. All right. Now we're going to add a tablespoon of vinegar, 1 ounce container of red food coloring, three-quarter cups of oil. This is corn oil. You can use any vegetable oil. We're going to start adding our dry ingredients, a 1/2 cup at a time, and we'll alternate that with our other liquid. I'm going to open up a can of evaporated milk. You can use 1.5 cups of buttermilk, or you can use a cup of evaporated milk and a 1/2 cup of water. And that's what we're doing today, just to be a little different, because it's an option on all of my cakes. Now I'm going to get me some water, and we're going to go ahead and add about a cup of these dry ingredients and start mixing this up. And then the only thing that we got left is to add our dry ingredients in the rest of this water. Easy. Easy cake. If you're enjoying this video, please give us a like. If you're new to the channel, please head down, hit that subscribe button, and click that bell for notifications when new videos are uploaded. Now I'm just going to knock all this off, and we're going to mix it about 2 minutes, and then we're going to get it in our cake pans. I am using 8-inch cake pans today. You can use 1/4 sheet. You can use 9-inch, however you want to do it. You can make thin layers, thick layers, however you want to do it. It's fine. But of course, the cook time will be a little different according to which size you used. All right, by the time your 2 minutes is up, you should have everything picked up off the table. Got plenty of time. We're going to get this out of here and get our cake pans over here. Okay, I like to use baking spray. You can grease and flour your cake pans if you want to. I guess we could do it just for funsies, since Mama always did it that way. Why don't we just do it today? So you just put a nice layer on them. These are USA pans, made in the USA. Very, very good cake pans. So if you need some new ones, I love 8-inch cake pans because it makes the cake taller when it comes out of the, when you get it iced and pretty. It makes it taller and more showy, I think. But now you can use 9-inch all day long. This is a pretty good size cake mix that we mixed up because it has 2.5 cups of flour. And a lot of cakes just have 2 cups. So it's got plenty of batter. And that's the only pet peeve I have about the new cake mixes out today, is that they get smaller and smaller. If you want to make a sheet cake, you have to buy 2 to really make a pretty sheet cake. But it's the holidays, y'all. And when it's the holidays, what do you want? A homemade from scratch cake like Mama's. That's what you want. And that's what we're doing. So you just grab a little flour, put it in the pan. Go around. Let it get all over the sides. And then you beat it. And you do the next one. Mama always did that. It only takes a minute. Now, some people, if they make a lot of cakes for the holidays, will mix up a flour and shortenings combo. I tell you, I like baking spray pretty good. It's easy, it's fast, And I typically buy it when it's buy one, get one free, and that way I don't have to pay too much for it. It is high, but if you get it when it's on sale during the year, then you should be stocked up for the holidays. There's our pans. They look pretty and coated. And you can tell if you missed a spot because it'll be bare. Now it's red food coloring. Try not to get it all over everything. It can be messy. We're going to get this out of here first. This is a Bosch mixer. I don't know if you are familiar with Bosch, but a lot of people have Bosch dishwashers. And they make different things, appliances. And this is a Bosch mixer. It's been around for a long time, but a lot of people don't know about them. And so they're really, really good for bread because they make a really large batch. It's a nice bowl. The size is really big. See that 2.5 cup flour cake mix only fills this half full. So it'll hold a lot of bread batter or batter. Now, if you're making these for somebody, you could weigh your cake batter on a scale to make sure that all of them are the same size. I did that the last time I made a cake, and it worked good. I'll go get my scale and we'll weigh them and make sure they're the same weight. I just use my mail scale. I don't have a special scale for the kitchen. I just use the same scale I use to mail cookbooks. This one is 2.4. Not quite 2. 2.1. 2.2. I was close on 2 of them. 2.2. Look at there, y'all. So now they're all equal. And clean them up if you got them dirty. And Mama always leveled hers off like that. The great thing about measuring them, I know that you don't have to do that. It's just a cake, you know. And if you're taking it somewhere and you want it to look special, then you can get the weight on them like I did. And that way when you ice it, it's going to look beautiful. All the layers will be the same size. All right, we're going to get these in the oven and we're going to bake it until the cake starts pulling away from the sides and the middle springs back, okay? A toothpick comes out clean. All the cakes cannot be timed by a recipe. Remember that. Everybody's oven's a little bit different and the pan sizes can be different. And so you just make sure you watch it. Don't open the oven when you're making a cake for at least 25 minutes, okay? Because you don't want it to fall. After 25 minutes, then you can check on it. I am going to put one of these in the back and 2 in the front. And the one in the back will get done quicker, and so I'll have to take it out first. Now, some people would wait and bake them 2 different sessions, but I don't do that. I just watch them. All right, we'll see y'all in a little bit. Get this thing iced with some good old cream cheese icing. All right, y'all, our delicious cake is ready. Took it 30 minutes. If you'll take a look, you can see that it's coming away from the sides a little bit and it springs back and the toothpick comes out clean. We're going to set these aside and flip them out in about 10 minutes. I'll see you in a few minutes. All right, it's time to flip these upside down. 1, 2. I want y'all to see how far apart from the sides. Once you take them out and they sit for a minute, you can see that they've come further away from the sides. And they should be just cool enough that you can actually touch this without getting burned. It released them all very well. They're gorgeous cake layers. And they're going to be super moist and delicious. So I'll see you after they cool down. And we're going to ice them with some good cream cheese icing. We've toasted what pecans I do have. I'm just going to put them in here and chop them up a little bit. And we're just going to use them on top of the cake. Normally I would put a cup in the icing, but today I'm just going to make the icing plain and just put these on the top because I'm all out of pecans. Everybody loves a yummy red velvet cake, and one of the things they like the most is the cream cheese icing. So we are going to make the most delicious cream cheese icing and ice our cake. All right, we've got 2 sticks of butter in the mixer at room temperature. And then you need to bring your cream cheese to room temperature as well so that it gets nice and creamy and mixes well with the butter. You're going to have 2 8-ounce blocks of that. I'm scraping it all, making sure I get my money's worth. Next one. And you're just going to mix this until it's nice and creamy. This is a Bosch mixer, and it has paddles that come with it automatically. If you decide to buy one of these this Christmas, I would suggest you get the Baker's Bundle, and you will know what I'm talking about once you get to the link on the Amazon page that I send you to. But if you get the Baker's Bundle, you get all the accessories that go with it for just $50 more, which is way worth the price. And so I encourage you to go get you one of these for Christmas this year or someone you love. All right. And you're going to see that even making a double batch of icing, that this bowl has a large capacity. And these paddles, these scrapers work really well on it, and they're doing their job like they're supposed to. That looks really good and creamy. So we are going to start adding the powdered sugar. I'm going to add a cup, and then we'll start adding the rest of it a little bit at a time. I'm just going to pour it out of the bag today because I'm making a lot of icing. Now, if you want to use my recipe, you can. It's 4.5 cups of powdered sugar. Put just a little cream in it. You're going to use a little bit of vanilla flavoring, and this is my delicious Madagascar bourbon extract. Teaspoon. We're going to continue adding the powdered sugar. All right, we're going to turn it off and get it out of here and ice this delicious red velvet cake. Put my icing right here. I'm going to take these pecans that I only had a few, so we're just going to dress up the top of the cake with them. They smell good. I toasted them just slightly, okay? And I don't really want all those in there, just the bigger pieces. I don't like all the pecan dust on the cake. I don't think it's pretty. Myself. And get rid of it. That's good. You always want to toast your pecans whole. You never chop your pecans and then toast them. You always toast them whole and then you chop them, okay? Otherwise, they can get too brown or burnt. Today, me and Chris have decided that we're going to ice 2 of these layers and leave one out for us to put in the freezer for later. And that way, for the holidays, I will have iced single-layer cakes that we can take somewhere. And that way, you can have more than one kind. And I'll go ahead and show you. If you use an 8-inch layer with my cake recipes, and all of my cake recipes have 2.5 cups of flour, you're going to see that a standard cake plate dome barely will fit over it. By the time you ice this cake, it would hit the dome, okay? So in order to make an 8-inch layer cake with one of my recipes, you need to have a larger, tall dome. I have this one that I've listed on the website. It is very expensive, But, buddy, you can make a huge cake and be able to use this dome to cover it. And so if you don't have a tall dome and you want to make a tall, showy cake, this is my favorite cake dome for that. Isn't it pretty? You're going to see that when you make my cake layers, they're nice and flat. They don't rise in the middle like a cake mix does. I like this cake plate because it has little dots on it, and you can tell exactly where you are in the middle of it when you put your cake down. The key to icing a cake so that you don't get crumbs in your icing is never touch the cake with your spatula. Always stay on top of the icing. I want to put a good bit on in between the layers of this cake. You want to start with a lot of icing on the top. When you ice a cake, always stay on the icing, not the cake. When you do that, then you don't get crumbs in your icing. And I always start from the top and push down like this before I get the sides. Whoops, there was some crumbs. I about messed it up, y'all. Now we're going to make sure we got plenty on the side so I can make the sides pretty. Okay, we got a comb, we've got a small side, and we've got a large side. And when you're using a red layer like this or a chocolate layer, you definitely don't want to use this one, okay? Because it would dig down into the cake crumbs, and you don't want that to happen. So we're going to use this side and just scrape the side of the cake. There we have it. You can comb it or you can swirl it. I mean, whatever you want to do. Now I'm going to get the extra off the bottom. And we are going to swirl the top. There we have it. Now, some people use the cake crumbs, but because my cakes are so flat, I couldn't really grab any crumbs from it and it be successful. These are wet from the top. And but they do that and they sprinkle them on a red velvet cake, you know, and it looks really pretty. So you can do that if you want to. And I'll show you. I can show you with this one how to do that, since we're just going to ice it for us. But you just take a little bit out of one of them like that, and you run it through a little sifter just to dress it up. Then they know for sure it's a red velvet. There you have it. And now we're going to do the pecans around the very bottom. Okay. So let me get this. Get me a paper towel. And we're just going to put them right around the bottom. And then you're just going to take your extra, put it up. And I mean, I barely had enough. So if you can toast the whole cup, it's even better. But we got enough on it to make it pretty. That's all that matters. There you have our cake. Red velvet. Beautiful. We'll cut a piece in just a minute. All right, we're going to get this one iced for us. Right quick. I didn't even get out my cake turner table thing today. I forgot. And remember, this is just an 8-inch. If you use a 9-inch, it wouldn't be as thick. So if you're making 9-inch layers, you might could get them iced in under a dome. All right, now we have one for the freezer. I'll slide it in the freezer and let it freeze, and that way the icing will be frozen before I wrap it, okay? So slide it in there, let it freeze hard, and then wrap it with plastic wrap, and it'll be ready to go. All you gotta do is get it out, unwrap it, and let it come to room temperature before you serve it. All right, we're gonna give it a slice, or get a slice. Homemade cake. Red velvet cake from scratch. Delicious, moist red velvet layers. It looks delish. And it looks moist. Let's get a bite. Whew. Looks delicious and moist. That's good. Reach back here. Reach back here and get you some toasted pecans. Boy, you just can't beat it. Nothing like a good old homemade cake like Mama makes. With those toasted pecans, oh my stars. You'll never get a better red velvet cake than this one. I promise. It is outstanding. Now listen, y'all, if y'all make this cake this year and put it on your Christmas table, boy, is it going to be pretty, and everybody's going to rave over it. So I encourage you to get in there. You can make the layers early and freeze them and just ice it a day or two before your party. You'll love it. Everybody will love you. We'll see you next time on Collard Valley Cooks, where we cook like our mamas did. Bye, y'all. We love you. Come back and see us.